That's a power bank. At 7,000 milliamps, that's a power bank. Solid mind here, and today we are looking at the Redmagic 10 Pro. Should you buy this in 2025? Let's find out.
With it being among the first phones to get the all-new Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, it has what Redmagic is called.
Now, every year they make chips. For me, I struggle to find okay, the chips are faster, that's good to know. But what does that actually mean for day-to-day usage? But anyway, let's continue.
Calling a new liquid metal cooling system. It has faster UFS 4.1 storage, and it has faster LPDDR5.
Okay, guys, look at this. Look how beautiful this phone looks. It looks really beautiful. I like it. It's very rectangular, very sharp edges. Is the fingerprint scanner at the top and the... Oh no, these are buttons to control for gaming, like the R1, R2 buttons here and there. I like this little slider button. That's probably the power button, volume controls. I like it. That's a fan, but I like it.
5X Ultra RAM, which pretty much hits every performance component you could possibly improve on a phone. So with that Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, Qualcomm is claiming some huge gains in performance, with a 45% boost in the CPU with the new Orion cores, plus a 40% boost in GPU, which is a pretty big deal. Obviously, the actual performance you get out of a phone, though, is going to be limited to the phone's cooling system, and that's where the 10 Pro really shines.
That's true. So when a phone overheats, it affects a lot. It affects the charging. It affects the power that you can utilize, because if you keep maintaining the same power at higher temperatures, you're more likely to damage the phone and burn out certain features. So oftentimes phones will slow down performance to cool the phone down a little bit, and also to not overheat it. So being able to cool down a phone means that you can run at full power without the need to, I guess, have your phone get too hot. So that's a massive benefit.
So with the 10 Pro, you still get that active cooling fan that's been a staple of the Redmagic series for years. But for the first time, Redmagic is also using liquid metal to more effectively transfer heat away from the vapor chamber and out through the cooling fan, helping reduce the phone's core temperature.
How is this waterproofed? If there is fans that are going through the phone, it can't be waterproof. Or can it? I don't know yet.
By up to 21 degrees. Now, I've been using air quotes every time I say liquid metal because technically it's not actually liquid. It's the same indium-based alloy as traditional liquid metal, but it's been processed into a solid-state piece for the phone. But, either way, at the end of the day, what really matters is performance. And when we ran the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme benchmark, the results did not disappoint.
This is a gaming device, so I'm expecting it to probably... Okay, look at this. There's a Galaxy 24 Ultra, iPhone. Okay, so I feel like it's probably going to beat most devices except the Galaxy 24 Ultra.
So for your reference, this is how the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Galaxy S24 Ultra perform. Not too bad, but a definite drop off at the end with the thermal throttling. Here's how the Redmagic 9S Pro performs, which is much more stable thanks to that cooling fan. And then here is the new Redmagic 10 Pro, which has a flat line just all the way across, not only having a higher score than any phone we've ever tested, but also maintaining it with virtually no loss in performance.
This is what I mean in terms of being able to cool down a phone is important. That's why PCs that are have good cooling perform better. If you can't overheat, you are able to maintain high power usage and not lose performance at all. So in terms of what the benchmark score actually means, it means you can probably play games a little bit longer without your phone getting too hot, which means performance will not drop. See how, for example, here on the Galaxy 24 Ultra, it's pretty good actually, and then it just drops off. Whereas the iPhone, it drops and it stays flat. So iPhones are not bad, but yeah, having like an active cooling method makes such a massive difference.
And that performance carries over into games. In a game like Call of Duty Warzone, with everything set to the maximum, the phone was often hovering between 90 and 100 FPS, which I feel like is like 10 to 20 FPS higher than the 9S Pro
At 100 FPS, that's pretty good.
that we tested just a few months ago. And then for games like Genshin Impact, we're obviously hitting the max 60 FPS that the game allows for on Android, but thanks in part to the custom Red Core R3 chip, the 10 Pro now supports frame interpolation and upscaling, where it'll actually calculate new frames to fit in between the native frames, effectively giving you over 100 FPS in a game that technically doesn't even support it, with even sharper visuals than before. Now, this only works on a handful of titles at the moment, but it is really cool, and it's just a smart way of leveraging all the extra horsepower that this phone gives you.
Now, I need you guys to comment down below if you guys are avid gamers on your phones. I game a little bit on my phone. I have a PS4, I game on that too. But I guess having the power and the headroom to play certain more powerful games on your phone might be a big benefit. You know, you can get Steam on your phone. So could you play Steam games on this? Probably you could.
The storage speed on here is also faster, with it using UFS 4.1 Pro instead of UFS 4.0, which Redmagic says is up to 36% faster. And at least in the storage speed test that we did, we actually got even better results from the random read and random write speeds. And in the mini speed test that we did against the Galaxy S24 Ultra, where we edited a photo in Snapseed and then exported a video in Filmora, the 10 Pro actually beat the S24 Ultra by 3 seconds, which
3 seconds is not a lot.
Across just 2 apps is pretty significant.
You say that, but in terms of like day-to-day usage, you have to weigh the pros and cons of both devices. I feel like the Redmagic 10 Pro is faster, but in terms of one thing that the Galaxy has is the fact that it is, 6.8, IP68. So in terms of it can be underwater for about 30 minutes, I think within like a meter or something. So whereas this, I don't know if it does have IP68, but if where is the camera? Wait, hold on. Where the camera's here? Where is the camera? I use the OnePlus 7T Pro, and the camera can come out of the display. Is it behind the screen? Is it like a pop-up camera? I need to know this.
So clearly, when it comes to performance, this phone sets the new bar. But obviously, there's more to a phone than just performance, even a gaming phone. And
oftentimes, gaming phones make for really good smartphones.
Luckily, Redmagic did improve in some pretty key areas. The screen now has even thinner bezels than before, achieving the highest screen-to-body ratio I've ever seen.
Jeez, that looks gorgeous.
On a phone at 95.3%, which just makes it look like it's from the future. The display is also brighter now with a peak brightness of 2000 nits and a global brightness of over 1200. And it also has a higher resolution, a faster refresh rate at 144 Hz versus
2K.
120. Plus, it's more responsive with a 2500 Hz peak sampling rate. On top of the new display though, there's also a bigger battery in here, with it having a whopping 7,000.
That's a power bank. At 7,000 milliamps, that's a power bank.
1,050 milliamp hour capacity, which was enough for it to last nearly 6 hours longer than the S24 Ultra when we ran our gaming battery drain test.
Okay.
Now, unlike the Galaxy S24 Ultra, you don't get wireless charging on here, which, is unfortunate, but Redmagic does kind of make up for it with the 80-watt fast charge.
See, OnePlus does this a lot where, because it doesn't have certain features, it overachieves on other features like charging.
that they include in the box, which despite having a way bigger battery to charge, it still was able to charge more than the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and that's just at 80 watts, with the phone technically supporting up to 100 watts. In terms of the camera, while it's not going to go toe-to-toe with phones like the iPhone 16 Pro Max, with that Snapdragon ISP and the dual 50
with cameras, the way that the manufacturer presets it determines quite a lot. I know photography quite a bit, how to use Lightroom, how to color grade, and when using a phone, the colors change so much in every situation. So you have to use like an automatic setting, and how you configure that automatic setting determines everything. Phone qualities are pretty similar, but the fact that iPhones have mastered it says a lot. So let's find out how this also looks at it.
50 megapixel wide and ultra wide cameras, you are still able to get some pretty decent shots. Maybe not so much with the under display selfie camera.
Under display, okay, this is one of the first phones that I can finally say has it. Let's continue real quick.
And the dual 50 megapixel wide and ultra wide cameras, you are still able to get some pretty decent shots. Maybe not so much with the under display selfie camera, but you know, this is a gaming phone where the camera...
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. When the first few below the display cameras came out, it made your face look like you put Vaseline on the camera. So this is very impressive.
Camera isn't really the big priority, as you can tell with the back being completely flat, so that way when you're gaming, you don't have those big old lenses getting in the way. Which, speaking of gaming, let's talk about the actual gaming experience on here. Because when we covered the Redmagic 9S Pro, I felt like that was the best gaming experience you could possibly get on a phone. But with the 10 Pro, Redmagic made it even better, with it not only having that new frame boosting feature we talked about earlier.
That's very interesting because you know, things like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally X, and the Legion Go's, they have features like this. So bringing those into a handheld like phone is kind of bridges the gap. And at what point do you then think, okay, should I go and buy an ROG Ally X, a Legion Go, a Steam Deck, or should I just invest that into a phone like this where I don't think I'm going to take it in the water anyway, and I still get some of the features, and it's a phone as well? You know, it's like, it makes it harder to decide.
But it also has this new Smato sensory mode, where in addition to being able to map the shoulder triggers to different on-screen elements, you can now map gestures to different elements as well. So in a game like Fortnite, for example, I had it where a pull gesture was mapped to jumping, a push gesture was mapped to ducking or sliding, and then a rotation in either direction was mapped to reloading, which combined with the triggers for scope and shooting, it made gaming on here feel more fluid than
yeah, but then it will make your gaming more jittery.
ever. It's basically at a point where it's nearly as good as having a physical controller.
I guess when you don't have to map like 3 or 4 extra buttons and then now gesture control, that is a big benefit.
Now, I don't want to leave you with the impression though that this is a perfect phone without any downsides, because you know, no phone is perfect, and there are trade-offs that you make for the lower price point, which starts at just $649, and for the
That's a reasonable price.
best-in-class performance. So the biggest trade-off for that low price comes in the form of less software updates overall, with Redmagic usually updating their phones for like 2 years compared to some of the competition's 5 to 7.
That's not that big a deal. I think security updates is important, but in terms of how often do people actually keep a phone for? Normally it's 2 years. So I know nowadays people keep their phones a little bit longer. So if you're buying this now, it will probably, when the updates end, be around the time when you buy a new phone anyway.
And then the trade-off for that industry-leading performance, though, is because you have that open intake and exhaust for the cooling fan,
water.
Obviously, the phone's going to be more susceptible to water and dust damage.
Yeah.
But in exchange, you get to save hundreds of dollars on the price, you get the best performance available on any smartphone, and you get a screen that looks more futuristic than anything else out there.
Oh, guys, I'm tempted. I've been really thinking of getting the Galaxy S24 Ultra. But this is making me question.
So if you're somebody who prioritizes gaming on their phones and you're careful with your phone, then I think this is a pretty compelling option. Plus, it just looks so cool with the transparent back and all the RGB.
Let's end it here. I think this is going to be one of the best phones of 2025. I'm just saying it. It has what you need. We no longer need notches. It has an under display camera, which is important. It's flat on the back, which I've been wishing that phones had a flat back for a long time. I'm sick of phones that you need to put a case on for them to be flat. Yes, it's not gonna have the best waterproofing as a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, but if you are a gamer or you want that headroom, and for me, like as a phone user, one thing what's important to me are two things: the battery life, the screen quality. Everything else you can bin. I don't care about the storage. I don't care about if it has an earphone jack or not. But battery life, I don't care about the cameras. Like, I'm being dead serious. This phone, which it does have a massive battery. Like, battery life for me is important. If I have to charge this phone once every 2 days, sign me up. But the thing about battery life, it's not just about how big the battery is, but how is the phone optimized to utilize the battery. You can have an iPhone, but the iPhone can survive 2 days without charging. Or you can have this phone, but it lasts a day because it's always on full power. So depending on how the battery is optimized on it, might make this one of the best phones for 2025. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and peace.